When it comes to cats, we imagine a fluffy pet that adores tenderness and games. But far from all cats are like this. Many of them, despite their size, are not only ready to live according to someone else's rules, but also can dictate their own ones. In this episode, you'll learn about the most dangerous cats in the world. We start with this unusual cat that I saw on the internet. Unfortunately, there was no data on who it was, where it lived, and where it was coming from. According to experts, it's a very rare cat that they wanted to attribute to domestic pets. However, at the 11th hour, they changed their minds. People found that this animal was too dangerous for us and even could be equal to tigers and lions concerning their power. As you understand, similar predators belong to the wild. So we're having another dangerous cat here that also doesn't like living within four walls. The serval is the most dangerous long-legged predator that can reach 4.5 feet long with a height at the shoulder equal to 2 feet. An adult specimen weighs from 17 to 40 pounds. They say that the serval is a holder of the tallest legs and the biggest ears among all felines in principle. Those are exactly these peculiarities that help it hunt successfully. The cat easily runs along high grass, can hear any, even the most unremarkable rustle, and is agile at reaching its target. What's more, if the situation requires, the serval will be ready to jump vertically and down even birds that take off. Apart from the feathered creatures, its menu includes rodents. It's capable of digging out their burrows. Our guest is not ceremonious with snakes either. It stuns them in a single blow. It's considered that the probability of successful hunting is equal to 60%. All this, taking into account that servals are single animals, they're not used to hunting with their brothers, so they usually pull off all their affairs personally. They have more than enough strength, and they don't have to share it with anybody. Advantages are everywhere. The only exception from the rules is cubs that are born in old dens of the aardvarks or nest among grass. There are usually 2 to 3 cubs in the litter. Their mother will be looking after them with maximum care. The female will be feeding them with its milk for 5 to 7 months and carry with her. Firstly, the serval will understand that its cubs are not in danger. Secondly, following their mother, the kittens will learn hunting skills that are honed for years. That's why, by 12 months, they'll be taught to survive when it's time to leave their native house. Pallas's cat. Our next guest is Pallas's cat. Before you ask, however, how nice and kind it may look from the outside, nobody will be able to tame it, even the most experienced professional. This cat inhabits a vast but fragmented Asian territory, with their average number of dozens of thousands of specimens. Somebody will consider it striking that such a nice and small cat manages to survive in such dangerous life conditions. Take it from me, when you've gotten to know this cat better, the fact won't surprise you. Concerning differences of this cat from other pet fluffy animals, it's his fur that catches the eye. By the way, it's considered the fluffiest and the densest among all the felines in principle. 9,000 hairs can be accrued to 0.2 inches squared. Not the least important moment is its bodybuilding as a whole. Our guest has rather short and at the same time powerful paws. Yet it's not the best idea to sprint with such pets as they hunt from ambush. Like the most dreadful jump scare, it waits until the ideal moment and catches its victim by surprise in a single agile and accurate jump. This wonder cat can feed on anything, from rodents and birds to different kinds of insects. Like the serval, this cat prefers loneliness and contacts another Pallas's cat only before the mating period. It's understandable. Why hold somebody by yourself when sometimes you can come up with an idea to stroll for 62 miles or 120 miles? By the way, I didn't joke about the last thing. Some cases are known to science when a single specimen got over even longer distances, up to 105 miles for a single time. It also happens that a Pallas's cat wandered into snowy regions that it tries to avoid. We've already talked about dangerous and at times even dreadful cats. It means that it's time to take a look at someone insanely funny. I'm talking about the sand cat that stands out for its smallest dimensions among the felines. In best-case scenarios, its body is 35 inches long. Interestingly, almost half of its length belongs to the tail. The height at the shoulders of this wonderful creature is up to 12 inches, with adult specimens weighing about 4 to 7.5 pounds. Judging by its dimensions, it may seem that this cat should be treated better by someone else and not show itself in public. However paradoxical that may sound, it prefers extreme conditions. Our guest inhabits deserts, in other words the Sahara Desert, the Arabian Peninsula, Iran, and Pakistan. In a nutshell, if there is no humidity in the area and it's lit by the scorching sun, it's ideal for the sand cat. Don't worry, these creatures are far from silly. Nobody's in a hurry to hunt under the sun. Small predators wait till the moment when it sets and starts to show activity. Beans of this cat are rimmed with fur. They protect their smooth skin from the scorching sand. They have big ears that are located low. This prevents them from falling off the sand inside. It's also interesting that their claws are not sharp but blunt. These cats often dig burrows in the sand. Its fingers and toes are similar to a spade, which plays into their hands. With such a rich set of tools, the sand cat easily orients itself in the night deserts and finds the tastiest food. They feed on everything: sands, jerboas, lizards, spiders, and insects. This cat is also famous for venomous snake hunting. Black-footed cat. Our next guest also lives in difficult conditions and ideally copes with them. If official records are to be trusted, the black-footed cat can get up to 10 miles a day. For this time, it can claim the lives of about 14 small animals. Don't worry, it's no butcher cat that cuts everything right and left. In fact, it only satisfies its needs. According to official data, the black-footed cat requires no less than 8.5 ounces of food, which is 1/6 of its average weight. They say that 2 of 3 attacks of this creature end successfully, which makes them one of the most effective predators in the whole world. Don't look at the fact that its main menu includes rodents, small birds, and reptiles. Just try to find them in the pitch darkness. Yes, I forgot to say, all day our cat rests in its den and goes hunting exclusively under the cover of night. Despite that, as our cat lives in dry regions, sometimes it has problems with water search. If cats don't know how to solve them, today the situation has improved. Animals learned to extract water right from the bodies of their victims. Other than that, this cat is the same as all others. In captivity, they live for 10 to 13 years. They're mostly single and are put together to continue the line. A female attracts the future father with special marks shortly after the suitable male comes. Other small creatures can live peacefully for the next half of the day. These cats won't care about them. After the reunion, they'll have offspring and the male will run away. A female will take full responsibility for the cubs and it will cope with everything on its own. Why successfully? The thing is that in terms of upbringing, she will be as severe and confident as in real life. The black-legged cat will provide no leniency. All the cats will toe the mark. As a result, it'll pay off. The cats will become strong and independent predators. Rusty spotted cat. This is how a species of small cats from the Asian ones is called. By the way, those are close relatives of leopard cats. Despite the fact that these species is on the verge of extinction and they're also small, these predators are real killers without any ceremonies. It's just worth providing the grounds. These are born tricksters, fit in a palm, and weigh up to 3.5 pounds, which makes them the smallest among those of its kind. It would be logical to propose that their diet consists of only worms, grass, and other food you don't have to butt with, but this is not the case. They're pleased to harass small invertebrates, birds, and even fish. Interestingly, our cat can hunt both on land and in trees. You can think that this variability is needed for comfort, but that's not the case. It's very likely that Mother Nature endowed these cats with the ability so that they could eat indiscriminately. If you're already afraid of meeting them, I advise you to abstain from traveling to India and Sri Lanka. Fishing cat. Our next guest also came to us from Asia. If you've already paid attention to its name, I have to say that it simply likes fish. As usual, first things first. So the fishing cat resembles a vivera. This is where it got its species name for. An adult specimen usually accounts for 24 to 33 pounds. Females are twice as small. These cats are well set and they have enough strength, which increases their responsibility. It's necessary to prove to the whole world that cats are good at swimming and do that perfectly. You know our guests managed to do this. While hunting, they didn't only learn to wait for its enemy on the shore, but also to jump after it into water. One precise jerk at a conditional crab, a frog, or a snail will be dead. Sometimes, of course, these cats hunt on land, whereas this would be an exception from the rule. By all appearances, the ability to dive into water screwed loose, and they started to imagine that they're kings of the earth. They came up with the reputation of bullies and ruffians rather quickly. There are cases when these cats defied the whole pack of dogs. What's more, you won't believe that this story has a real confirmed case when a big fishing cat from the zoo broke away from the enclosure, made its way to the leopard, and finished it off. In the place of these cats, I would think 3 times if it's worth hunting underwater residents. Maybe it's better to apply its combat skills on land, in the wrangles with dignified and large opponents. Likoi. I'm almost sure that you don't know the name of this cat. However, it's so unusual and interesting that you're worth learning about it. We start with the most important thing. This breed came into being as a result of a natural mutation of the fur of the short-haired cat. The mutation lends its features of a werewolf and make it one of the most unusual fluffy creatures in the world. As if it had broken away from the bestiary and as if it had magically found its place in real life. I ask you to pay attention. No one of the people carried out any experiments with these fluffy creatures. They came out strange by themselves. People just secured the mutation, they made out a plan, and started to cross specimens in a definite way to keep the breed afloat. Now there are really frightening and at the same time surprising cats with rare rough fur, big yellow eyes, and a pinch of insanity. Because of the mutation, Likoi periodically get completely bald and then grow with fur again. Alright, let's not touch this poor cat werewolf. Let's look at someone else. The Andean cat, for example. This is a representative of the South American species that we have too little information about. No, not because there are quite a few such cats in nature, but because they live in such conditions, under which it's problematic to explore something. For example, the first video shots of this species appeared just after the year 2000. They live, as you may have already guessed by the name, among the Andean highlands in South America. 1.9 miles below the sea level is the minimum where fluffy creature descends to. Droughts, thin air, and strong winds. This is a list of difficulties that the Andean cat encounters every day. However, this doesn't confuse it a bit, at least because there are more difficult problems. For example, food and water. In the Alps, you can only find icy water from the melting snow. As for food, you cannot find much. Of course, from time to time you can destroy a random nest, but the basis of the diet will consist of legumiums, chinchillas, and small bugs. For this matter, personally, I'm struck by the fact that this cat manages to hunt. Have you seen the area where it lives? Yes, there is no place there where you can hide. On top of that, the Andean cat manages to survive, extending its area from South Peru to northwest of Argentina. Do you remember we've already had an unusual mutant from the world of felines? So if you think that it's the peak of the strangest things and the concentration of everything unusual, forget this. With these words, you can characterize the Highlander breed. We start with the fact that this is an experimental breed that managed to gather a combo from all the possible genetic anomalies. Incurved ears, dreadfully short tail, high forehead, and a wide nose, many fingers, and by all means, something else I've forgotten to mention. This is all that can be concentrated in just a relatively small Highlander cat. The following thing surprises me even more. If we rely on the words of specialists who work on it, it's not a full range of peculiarities. It goes without saying that such breeds are not recognized by the majority of international organizations. However, this doesn't prevent enthusiasts from working on improvement of the experimental breeds. That's why this project continues until now. All this can look unusual. However, you should understand that all these nuances can distill into a big problem with health that people won't be able to solve. In this case, the lives of many innocent cats will be ruined. This is clearly the thing you should go for. So it's enough about cats. Later on, I'll show you the most surprising and striking dogs that even bears are afraid of. American Pit Bull Terrier. The Pit Bull is definitely one of the most talked about dog breeds in the world, and they discuss it in very different ways. Some say that it's the most loyal friend and helper that will never leave anyone in trouble. Others are sure that it doesn't need people at all, that it's an egoist, strong creature and aggressor, which with proper education will learn only to suppress its desire to attack in anger, but no more than that. There are no right or wrong in this story. Pit bulls are indeed banned in many countries, and this was done for a reason. It's all about unscrupulous owners who take these dogs only for their own confidence and some kind of self-affirmation, but they absolutely do not plan to train them. And that's very, very bad. After all, the American Pit Bull Terrier is extraordinarily active and energetic. From birth, despite the many stories from newspapers and TV programs about pit bulls attacking people, these dogs do not have an innate hatred for people. On the contrary, they're very sociable and need human attention. But if they don't get it, over time they can become unaware of when they're being treated kindly and when they're not being treated so kindly, and will attack everyone they meet. And I wouldn't want that because pit bulls have a deadly grip. Once they've grabbed their prey, they won't let it go. Even polar bears would be afraid of pit bulls because, in addition to the amazing strength of their grip, they can also boast of incredible speed and agility. But don't think that every pit bull should be avoided and that people shouldn't come within a mile of it. In history, for example, if there are many cases when these dogs behave like real heroes and even save people. Thus, a pit bull from the U.S. named Hades in 2014 saved an 8-year-old child from a swarm of angry bees. The boy, named Jesse, was playing with friends on the bank of a creek not far from his house, and someone accidentally stepped on a rotten log where a beehive was located. Jesse was stung more than 20 times, but Hades managed to get the boy out of the swarm and bring him to his mother. Pressa Canario. The next dog, to be honest, doesn't inspire much more confidence. In fact, in some ways, it has an even scarier appearance. The name of this giant is Pressa Canario, or Dogo Canario, and it's the guard shepherd dog. This dog has a formidable appearance, distrustful of strangers, and at the same time is distinguished by mental balance and self-confidence. But it was not always so, or rather, not always people knew about it. It's not clear exactly when the breed was bred, but we know that up to the 15th century, these dogs were used as shepherds and guards. Those times passed, and people didn't think of anything better than to change the specialization of dogs, moving them to the battlefields, where they'd fight with their own kind. This decision was influenced by the fact that Pressa Canario puppies are incredibly aggressive and strong at the same time. Thus, they almost never need to be coaxed and are almost immediately ready to rush into battle. Because of this special quality, these canary dogs began to be uncontrollably bred with mastiffs, English bulldogs, Staffordshire terriers, and boxers. Of course, this did not bode well for the breed. The original appearance was lost, and many breed types appeared. In the merciless arena, they stayed up for more than 5 centuries until the fights were finally banned, and enthusiasts didn't help the dogs to stay alive because at some point they were on the verge of extinction. Although they were no longer fighters by profession, they're still fighters at heart to this day, but only in relation to uninvited guests or offenders of their owner. In addition, Pressa Canario is not afraid to get into the fray because it has a rather thick and strong skin with a complete lack of undercoat. This explains why the dog was good in fights. The thicker the skin, the harder it is to bite through. And the lack of undercoat means that the dog feels good only in a warm climate. It gets cold very easily. Did you know that there's a hybrid between a dog and a wolf in nature? Its name is, just like you thought, a wolf dog. This hybrid was bred at the Russian Perm Institute of Interior Troops on the basis of wolves and German Shepherd dogs. Similar experiments have been carried out before, but they've all failed. Unlike them, this time wolf dogs turned out to be quite human-controlled and obedient. In addition, they have more developed instinct, intelligence, as well as endurance. For example, a wolf dog can find a person in a confined space in about 20 seconds. Just so you understand, exactly the same task in the same place would take more than 5 to 6 minutes for known sheepdogs. The public liked this dog breeding project so much that they even tried to put these dogs on the borders to keep enemies out. Despite this, such an idea was not approved by everyone. For example, the wolf dog breeding was banned in Finland. Firstly, it was done for the sake of preserving the population of common wolves of the same area. And secondly, the government considered that, despite the good obedience during tests, wolf dogs are still extremely dangerous. They have wolf blood in their veins, and at any moment they can stop obeying humans because they're simply not interested in them. American Ban Dog. But truth be told, not only unusual representatives of the four-legged animals are banned in different countries. Thus, the authorities of Switzerland and Britain have banned an ordinary hybrid between a pit bull and a mastiff. Although the word ordinary is an understatement. The American Ban Dog grows to no less than 20 inches tall. It inherited this from the pit bull. It also gains weight up to 154 pounds. This is the mastiff trait. The main thing is, don't scold it for not keeping to a diet. Otherwise, if it gets angry, it'll be a hard time for everyone. The medieval English didn't just call ban dogs particularly vicious and strong watchdogs of various breeds. They knew something for sure because modern dogs are also not that simple. They're not a full-fledged breed. They're just a bunch of crossbreeds of varying degrees of quality, which definitely affected their character. They grow up smart, active, and most importantly, willful. They can be both completely calm and sane, which happens less often, or be more angry, aggressive, and unpredictable, which unfortunately happens more often. And if you now multiply all these qualities by their incredible strength, then you'll get the American Ban Dog, a dog that was bred for fighting and will not tolerate a bad treatment. And now I suggest switching from the topic of fighting dogs to a more honorable vibe and listen to 2 short stories about rescue dogs that will definitely amaze you. Balto. This was the name of a purebred, black-colored husky with a white chest and white socks on his paws, who was one of the 150 dogs that took part in the Great Race of Mercy. Many people have heard about this dog because his story was so much liked by people that they even made an animated movie based on it. The plot was based on a real story that happened in 1925. The dog, who was at the head of the sled, managed not to get lost in a snowstorm and bring the medicine for diphtheria to the destination. He had to run not a couple of kilometers, but almost 685 miles, overcoming the path, which was called the Great Race of Mercy, or the 1925 Sarum Run to Nome, took all 150 dogs in the sled 5.5 days. But why was the movie only about Balto? What happened to the other 149 dogs? They did their part. There was nothing unusual about it, and Balto managed to overcome the last 62 miles in simply incredible conditions. Because of the intensified snowstorm, nothing could be seen at arm's length. Only the amazing flair of the dog helped it avoid death in the river and deliver medicines to sick children on time, while the residents of the city no longer hoped for being rescued in such hellish conditions. Barry. These 5 letters are known to anyone who is slightly interested in the legends of Paris. The story goes that in the 19th century, a dog named Barry lived in the Swiss Alps. There was the Great St. Bernard Pass, where cold and snowstorms raged almost all year round. Barry was one of the rescuers who was sent to people. In fact, he was almost always the one who sensed someone was in trouble and went out on missions. People put a bag with warm clothes, food, and wine around his neck so that when a human came to their senses, they could eat and warm up for the journey ahead. Thus, Barry rescued as many as 40 people. He found them in the most difficult situations, licked them, and covered them with his own body to keep them warm, and then walked them home. Who knows how many people he could have saved if not for a sad story that happened to him during the rescue of the 41st person. He got a man out of some unbelievable situation, so much unbelievable that he lost consciousness in the process. And when he came to his senses, the man was afraid that a bear or something worse was sitting on top of him, and he hit him with all his might. Only after a few seconds did he realize that Barry was in front of him. The poor guy jumped up and went back home. He felt bad, but the dog survived and made it to the point where he had come from. They gave him everything he needed, and he seemed to get better, but it wasn't what you'd call life. Barry was no longer able to save others. He quietly lived out his remaining days and went to the other world, forever remaining in the hearts of the locals. Appreciate your time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.